DC has always had a pretty rocky history with video games. Sure, there have been highlights like the Arkham series, but there have been plenty of lowlights as well, especially more recently. But one DC series has been pretty consistently great: the Injustice games. I was never fully able to vibe with the story that they were telling, but the gameplay was awesome. Injustice 2 may honestly be one of my favorite fighting games of all time. But how does one make the leap from Justice League to fighting game? Well, it helps if someone makes the leap for you. Sure, everyone remembers the Injustice games, but I don't see anybody ever really talk about the game that gave birth to that series. 2008's Mortal Kombat vs. DC Universe. Wow, that title is really a mouthful. This game was weird. Not because comic book characters crossing over with fighting games was odd. Marvel did it with Capcom years earlier. And who could forget Spawn and Soul Calibur? Who could forget? But the fact that it took DC so long to respond, and that it was with Mortal Kombat of all games, was strange. Sure, DC in 2008 was becoming the more dark and edgy superhero brand compared to the newly blossoming MCU. But Mortal Kombat was the game where people ripped each other's spines out, so it seemed like a bit of a mismatch. Not to mention, for Mortal Kombat fans at the time, this announcement was a bit of a slap in the face. After 2006's Mortal Kombat Armageddon, fans were excited for a true next-gen Mortal Kombat. No, the Wii version of Armageddon does not count. And in 2007, that's what Midway promised. Mortal Kombat 8, a dark, gritty reboot of the series in Unreal Engine 3 exclusively for the next generation. This is not that game. Look, Midway was struggling financially, and Warner Brothers came knocking with a request for a crossover. Obviously, recognizable IP make number go up, so Midway dropped all plans for Mortal Kombat 8 and started working on Mortal Kombat 8? Look, I'm no lore master for Mortal Kombat. These are literally the only ones I've played, plus 3 in the arcade, so I don't know too much lore. But if this is Mortal Kombat 11, and I count backwards, this is what counts as 8? Why? Why is this 9? And why is Superman canon? Anyway, Midway got to work on what would be DC's first foray into the fighting game genre since 1995. And they wanted to go big with it, both for DC's sake, but also to push Mortal Kombat forward as well. This game features a 4-hour story mode with full motion captured and voice acted cutscenes, split into 2 equal DC and Mortal Kombat parts. It was pretty cinematic for the time, and wasn't really something Mortal Kombat, let alone any other fighting game, had really done before. And you can tell.
I have to stop them, Billy Batson. Wizard!
The writing team consisted of writers from both Midway and DC, but I don't think those two teams gelled really well, because the story here is thin. There's only so much you can do in 4 hours, I guess, but compared to the depth of writing on the 2 Injustice games and even later Mortal Kombat story modes, this one falls a bit flat, but we'll go over that later. The new story mode and cutscenes weren't going to be the only issue this game faced in development, though. See, all these Mortal Kombat games have one thing in common. See that ESRB rating there? Mature. Now look at this one. Obviously, Warner Brothers wasn't going to let Sub-Zero rip out Batman's spine, so some changes had to be made. Some fairly major changes. Mortal Kombat's famous fatalities had to be toned down massively to hit a T rating, to the point of gunshots being pushed off screen. Plus, you can't really have Superman killing people, at least not yet. So for all the DC heroes, the heroic brutality was created, which is for all intents and purposes, a fatality, but somehow heroic? And heroic brutalities weren't the only new additions either, but we'll get into those as we experience them in the story mode. And so I'm going to summarize the story briefly. mainly because it's largely uninteresting, but I promise I'll hit all of the main story beats. Starting off in the Mortal Kombat universe, Shao Kahn is up to Shao Kahn things and trying to merge Earthrealm and Outworld. Luckily, he lost off screen. Raiden tries to lightning blast him back through a portal, but ends up destabilizing it, which blows it up. Raiden brushes this off and takes Quan Chi to jail. At literally the exact same time in the DC universe, Darkseid is up to Darkseid things and trying to take over Earth. Luckily, he lost off screen. Superman tries to heat vision him back through a boom tube, but ends up destabilizing it, which blows it up. Superman brushes this off and takes Lex Luthor to jail. At least over here, we get some banger voice lines.
Insolent fool! You're destabilizing the boom tube!
This is also where you'll notice that the DC character designs are pretty comic accurate to the pre-New 52 era, which is great news to anyone like me who prefers these looks for these characters. Jesus Christ, okay, maybe not all of them. Now, back in the Mortal Kombat world, Liu Kang and Kitana try to solve the mystery of a bunch of people disappearing. They very briefly try to pin it on the Lin Kuei until Sub-Zero tells Liu Kang that he's also trying to find missing people. They then agree to an alliance, when suddenly, Scorpion shows up, who hates alliances almost as much as he hates Sub-Zero. During these first few fights, you'll potentially be introduced to a few new mechanics that the game brings to the table. The first up is close combat, where you have to try and match the button your attacker is using to counter and break out. There's also free fall, where you throw your opponent through a wall and wail on them as they fall to another level of the arena. This, just like close combat, can be parried, though this time you simply flip who the attacker is. You can also end it with a super move that's different for every character. Oh, and don't worry, Test Your Might also makes its return. This time it has you being smashed through a wall mid-match while mashing to either do damage or reduce damage. I don't know, I guess that's more interesting than boards. The crazy thing about all of these is that there's no tutorial or explanation of these concepts. Sure, there wasn't in past games either, but with this new story mode format, you think a quick explainer would be useful? I mean, what do they expect me to do? Read? There is one last mechanic though, and it is shockingly plot relevant, which is Kombat Rage, a new mystical energy affecting everyone in both universes that makes them, rage, I guess. They punch harder and take no damage. It also has the ability to do this. In the DC universe, the Flash has been affected by the Kombat Rage and almost kills Kano, but is stopped by Batman. Then suddenly, boom. What follows is a very nonsensical plot where various heroes get taken over by Rage for all of 5 minutes until they get it beaten out of them and then immediately run away before anyone can talk it out at all. Like, Liu Kang fights both Flash and Batman purely because he assumes they're Shang Tsung disguised by his magic.
I have seen this trick before. Your illusion does not fool me, Shang Tsung. Round. Are you injured? I can help you.
Eventually, both sides come to the realization that their worlds are merging due to an entity called, get this, I'm not kidding, Dark Khan. Yeah, so the two villains from the start combined into one being who feeds off of this new Kombat Rage and is using the rage to merge the worlds faster. That's what you get for destabilizing the boom tube. This, of course, does not unite the two sides, because now the obvious assumption is that the other side are the forces of Dark Khan, and must be eliminated. This does, however, unite the heroes and villains of each of the respective universes, which does provide some interesting moments.
Liu Kang, you must fight alongside Shang Tsung.
I will do as you ask, Raiden.
Oh, so now you're not gonna beat him up. We get some nuggets of info that make the game make a little more sense, I guess. Superman gets his ass handed to him because every Mortal Kombat character is magic, I guess? Yep, that looks, pretty magical. And the rage is also used as an excuse as to why Joker hasn't been killed instantly, though that can't save you from hubris. Also, poor Captain Marvel just gets so disrespected in this. He keeps getting overcome with the rage, he gets locked up, he gets dragged to hell. Remember, that's a child. He just has a really bad run in fighting games. Actually, he's kind of had a bad run in everything. But after all of this, eventually both sides decide that they have to end this. So they teleport to the destroyed Outworld Apocalypse to confront Dark Khan and his supposed forces. Both sides meet up in what is honestly a pretty badass cutscene. Everyone gets overtaken by rage and starts to duke it out. Though, we only get to see that in still images. Ran out of budget for those cinematic cutscenes, huh? Superman and Raiden, in each of their respective stories, have to learn that taking out your rage on your worst enemy and most trusted ally is not cool, before rushing off to find Dark Khan. Which of course they do, but then they're both forced to fight. Again. Only after this fight do they realize that they're on the same side. You then, in each story mode, take on Dark Khan, who, Oh god. The final reveal in each universe is that Darkseid and Shao Kahn are imprisoned in the opposite universe, which is fun, especially seeing Shao Kahn get Phantom Zoned. We need more Phantom Zone in our lives. It's at this point I felt the same feeling I felt when I beat this game as a kid, which is, it's not very fun. I don't know if it's just because the 360 controller has one of the worst D-pads on the planet or what, but getting any moves off felt like a massive challenge here. Plus, it's a 3D fighter, which I never really gelled with, unless it's Soul Calibur, because who could forget Soul Calibur? Overall, it really did just kind of feel like an unresponsive fighting game to me, which I feel like is the worst kind of fighting game you can have. But, should you trudge through, beating each story gets you one unlockable character, Shao Kahn for the Mortal Kombat side and Darkseid for the DC side. But that's it. There's really no extra content here at all. After the story mode, you do have the classic arcade mode with all its various endings, and some of them are kind of hilarious, like Deathstroke getting the power to create a legion of ninjas, or Liu Kang getting the powers of Captain Marvel, but instead of saying Shazam, he has to say Mortal Kombat. And yes, that's real. I'm not kidding. But beyond that, there just isn't much else to do. There's a training mode and the combo challenges, which, like, is a terrible idea for a mode. It's literally just, hey, do this combo. Bet you can't press the buttons in the order that we put them up on the screen. That's it. There's no crypt like in both past and future entries. No other unlockables at all. You can't even unlock the main villain of the game, Dark Khan. Not even any DLC characters. But there's a reason for that. While this game was an extreme success for Midway and Warner Brothers, it wasn't big enough. Midway filed bankruptcy a few months later and all DLC plans were cancelled. Quan Chi was the only one we had any sort of confirmation of, but plenty of other characters were rumored, like Harley Quinn, Johnny Cage, and Doomsday. Luckily for Mortal Kombat fans, in Midway's big bankruptcy sale, Warner Brothers swooped in to buy up Mortal Kombat and immediately formed NetherRealm Studios with plenty of old Midway staff to continue the series. And continue they did, finally getting to make that gritty back-to-basics reboot with Mortal Kombat 9, also known as Mortal Kombat. Jesus Christ, why bother with numbers at all? And this game was just forgotten. The game got bundled in for free with copies of Injustice when it released, and you get occasional references from DLC characters, but beyond that, nothing. And for a game that's still internally viewed as Mortal Kombat 8, it seems like it's just been buried, never to be spoken of again. Maybe that's a good thing. Maybe it's not. After all, the lore implications going forward would be insane. I mean, imagine having to reference this in the latest Mortal Kombat game. What was it called? Does Ed Boon know how to count?